I mean, it's sort of what you'd expect, when you when you have to run your own place, sort of your say is what goes, and, you get to sort of find your own voice and find your feet. It just sort of opens your mind up to going, all right, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. It was just a few weeks ago that we aired an episode with Justin James, who at the time was steering Adelaide's restaurant Botanic in a new direction. But things changed quickly in hospitality and he's left the building. And a new chef has come in to put his mark on one of South Australia's most awarded venues. Jamie Musgrave is the executive chef of restaurant Botanic in South Australia. Jamie, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to get you on the show. Justin's left the building and you've stepped up to the plate. How have things been?
Yeah, things are tracking well. It's an exciting opportunity. I think any sort of young chef, it's sort of the pivotal point of their career, and it's something they always aspire to. So, it's an exciting time.
You've been at the restaurant for a little while now. Were you surprised by the move? And tell us about the moment. What was it like for you?
It did honestly catch me off guard a little bit, but you gotta grab the bull by the horn sometimes, and it was a bit too hard to pass it up. So no, it was super exciting, and it's something I'm looking forward to sinking my teeth into and giving it a real go.
We had Justin on the show not that long ago, sort of talking about the direction he was taking the restaurant in. Tell us a little bit about your approach. I know you worked with him, but what's your approach? Where do you want to take the restaurant?
I think the trajectory that the restaurant was on is awesome, and it's achieved great things in a very short time as well. So it's done very well, and me personally, I think we have everything here to keep it at the highest level, and do some more great things. So I'm excited to keep going with what we have here. The 51 hectares of the Adelaide Botanic Gardens is a great source and a great pantry that we have, and I'm also excited to sort of take it in a little bit more of a direction of the flavours of the whole of Australia, and broaden things out a little bit for us, sort of going down that sort of, using, a lot more sort of natives, and, we do use a lot as it is, but sort of finding, smaller ingredients and, things that maybe you won't see or you won't taste, and shining a light on those things.
I know you're already part of the brigade before taking on this role, but tell us a little bit about the role. Is it different to what you thought it might be?
It's sort of what you'd expect, when you have to run your own place, sort of you now, your say is what goes, and, you get to sort of find your own voice and find your feet, and, you can, do some exploration and sort of, just have a go at whatever you sort of think is good, and, a lot of sort of trial and error and learning, and there's all, it just sort of opens your mind up to going, all right, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Well, I want to explore sort of what you are going to do and where you're going to take Restaurant Botanic shortly, but take us back to when you were young. You grew up in Western Australia. Whereabouts did you grow up in Western Australia, and what sort of role did food play?
So I grew up over in Dunsborough, which is like a small town, coastal town. It's within the sort of Margaret River wine region, I guess you would say. It's a beautiful little spot of the world. Sort of growing up, food wasn't a huge part of my life. We were sort of, got two brothers, so the three boys sort of, pretty active. We'd be out surfing, playing footy. Sort of the food there was coming home and reheating a little bit of mum's chicken and rice, so it was, that was sort of, growing up for us. It was a bit of a special occasion to go to grandma's house and have a roast, but, sort of food didn't really sort of come around until it's a tale as old as time. I was sort of just washing dishes for a bit of money, 13, 14, and that's when it all sort of came to part. Sort of the chef there would, have your little sort of lunch break or whatever, and he'd whip you up a dish, and for me it was pretty fancy, but sort of trying like seafood for the first time, or whatever it might have been, but it was very eye opening, and sort of shone a light on something I didn't really know about, and I found it pretty interesting.
You left school at a young age and went headfirst into an apprenticeship. Tell us about those first couple of years. What were they like for you?
I mean, it was pretty hard, It was sort of, you're 15 years old and 16 years old, and then now, you went from doing whatever you wanted all the time to you just working, the hospitality industry, you say goodbye to your weekends, you don't see your friends that much. But, it was very rewarding. I worked, the places I was working, the chefs were very, I think, they were nurturing, and, they wanted to see you succeed. I think at that sort of time, a lot of people were sort of giving it the cold shoulder a little bit, and maybe it was a bit too hard and people want to do it. So, I think they realised that they sort of had to, give a little bit to the younger guys to see it sort of continue.
In those early sort of years, what were the really sort of important venues and people that sort of helped kickstart your career?
I mean, some great guys that I was working with. I sort of finished my apprenticeship in Margaret River there, and then hit the road with Paul Isco of Fervour. So he's sort of a bit of a proprietor of native Australian ingredients, and sort of runs a little pop-up restaurant. I wouldn't say so little now, but back in the day I was sort of jumping in the Hilux and driving, 8-10 hours and setting up some trestle tables to serve a 20-course meal under the stars. So that was, pretty eye-opening, tasting ingredients and going on trips. And, there's things that were so amazing. You're out eating ants, or, first time I had finger lime was with Paul, and, sort of stuff like that. I was just joined they do like a Northwest tour. So I did that. You're on the road for about 3 months, sort of living in the swag, out on country, doing some foraging with the elders of sort of whatever town it is, tasting ingredients throughout the week, and then over the weekend do one dinner on the Friday and one dinner on the Saturday, and then you pack it all up and then you keep driving.
That's amazing. Is there any sort of particular event or sort of foraging expedition that you went on that sort of had an impact on you that you can share with us?
I remember sort of up in the Kimberley. We were just out on a little day trip, and then you sort of just head out into the bush, and I'll never forget it. It's one of the sort of formidable moments when I went, wow, this is pretty crazy. But so we're out, and then fishing for Millinger, which is a sort of small sort of river fish. And then the way that you catch it, you can dig up sort of like a little grub that lives in the sandbanks, and then that's your bait. And then you catching fish out of a river, and the guide sort of lit a open charcoal fire off the side of the banks and was just grilling up whole fish on the side of the river. It was pretty wild.
You returned to the south and spent some time at Vas Felix. How was that experience compared to sort of what you were doing at the time?
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of stepping back into reality, putting the white jacket back on, and service, back into sort of the template of like what is, regular service. You're working out of the same building every day, and you're working running a section and cooking sort of the same sort of thing. I mean, Fast Felix for me was great. Brendan there, he was an exceptional chef. He did some great things there. His ethos was almost refreshing. He'd obviously come from over done bit of work over in London and sort of that, and I think you hear it a lot with chefs, how they sort of joke about sort of calming down a little bit after their sort of fiery earlier years. So I caught him on the, and sort of his ethos there was, he wanted to do great things, but he also wanted it to be a great workplace that people sort of wanted to hang around and, stay for a while. Because I think, in hospitality, those are the sort of things that you're looking for, if you can get a team that wants to be there, they want to come in, they want to work hard, they enjoy themselves. Those are the sort of things that, when you work together for a long time with the same people, you can really achieve some great things. And that's sort of what his ethos was there. I mean, for my time there, I worked with the exact same people the whole time. So it was unreal. So, it was a place that was very serious, and they were very ambitious, but you could have a bit of fun as well. So I did really enjoy my time there.
You spent some time in Hong Kong as well. How did that come about, and why did you go to Hong Kong?
It was just sort of a quick little trip. A close friend of mine, William Wade, we sort of did our apprenticeship together. He was over there cooking, and sort of just got an email one day that said, "Chef, if you can get on the next flight out, we'll give you a job." So I went over there, and it was a quick little trip, and sort of it was a more introductory to fine dining and sort of cooking at that level, which was great. But it was a fun thing to do, and those quick little sort of stages, or whatever you might call it, they're great, but it's sort of led into the ethos of I really did enjoy doing sort of little things like that. But I think sort of what I sort of took away from it was the cooking was great, you learnt a lot, but I sort of found that maybe sticking your teeth into something for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and really seeing how things work is sort of what I've have sort of practiced here. My time at Restaurant Botanic, I was sort of only sort of planning on doing 6 months and then moving on. But the more I was sort of around it, was you would see more and you could do more, and you could if you saw every section and you saw how everything worked, it was a bit more. Your understanding was a bit more for, rather than doing a few weeks here or a couple of months there, or, sort of things like that.
What was life like for you in Hong Kong? Do you have any stories of living in Hong Kong and eating the local food?
There's a lot of dumplings, really. Some staff meal beef tendon soup. I recall, chewing down on a lot of beef tendons, but. The city was pretty amazing. It's one of those places that sort of doesn't stop. And it makes you sort of realise how small you are in a big world. So it was a great little thing.
How did you end up in Adelaide?
Adelaide's it was a pretty funny story. We sort of, came out of COVID, and I was looking to broaden out, but the time sort of overseas was on my radar, but everything, it was all sort of a little bit too wishy-washy to sort of head over, and with the restrictions and that, it seemed a little bit too risky. So sort of started looking around Australia and what was seemed like it was going to be exciting, and so Adelaide was it wasn't, I didn't really pick Adelaide. I just sort of seen that, this restaurant sort of, had the chef that, Justin had come over, and he was sort of doing his thing. I'd sort of followed him from his time at Food and Wine, so I was interested to sort of meet up with him and see what he was doing. I remember just flicking through my Instagram and seeing one little photo of a pre-dessert or something, and thinking, wow, that could be pretty cool. So I shot him an email at about 1 a.m. when I finished work. He gave me a phone call at 6 a.m. and then booked me flight. So it was a quick little turnaround for us, and you know, it was sort of before all the renovations and anything like that. So it was a bit of a dice roll for him, and it was a bit of a dice roll for me. But we still laugh about it now.
Tell us about the last couple of years with the sort of changes. With the what's it been like being part of that team at Botanic?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you know, it's sort of it's a small team. You know, it's not a big restaurant, so you work pretty closely with everyone, and you know, you get to see the ins and outs of everything, and you know, sort of starting at a place with such ambition, and you know, watching the changes to achieve what it has been a great learning experience for me, and sort of, you know, seeing all those little tweaks and being a part of it and going the extra mile, and you know, sort of doing those things was it was really eye opening, and you know, just it's been, you know, there's little tweaks here, little tweaks there, you know, sort of ever changing to, you know, you're never going to reach where you want to be, but you'll always sort of get a step closer to it.
Take us into the gardens there and some of the produce that you access. Well, what's it like working in a kitchen with sort of access to that, and what's some of the real standout things that are growing for you that you're using?
I mean, it's a pretty wild concept, to be honest with you. You know, you hear of the pretty common sort of kitchen garden, but we don't really have that. So what we have is you know, it's 51 hectares of botanic garden. So it's sort of a museum of you know, preserving sort of, you know, plants and shrubs and sort of, you know, whatever that might be. But so there is gardeners here, but they don't sort of tend to anything that we want. So they you know, make sure the garden is you know, it looks really nice, and they do a great job of that. So you know, it's an awesome place to go for a little walk throughout the day. But I mean, for us, there's a few different little sections. You know, me personally, I've sort of am more drawn to, they sort of call it the native garden. So out there you'll find, it's like going for a walk in the bush, to be honest with you. You know, you'll have sort of a lot of eucalyptus trees, there's some paper bark, there's a couple of little quandong trees up there, a lot of flowering wattle. You know, the garden for me is, you know, there's a lot of flavours out there. And it's lucky for us that we are small, so we can sort of, you know, preserve those flavours just through sort of, you know, fermentation, pickling, salting, sort of things like that, you know, to get us through the duration of however long we want to use it. So maybe we'll head out and there'll be some wattle flowers, you know, they're only around for 6 weeks, but we'll make a bunch of vinegar, and that'll get us through for, you know, a few months, you know, so sort of the winter, sort of things like that. You know, there's a lot of, you know, cool little things that you might not see if you were just ordering it in. You know, the lemon myrtle trees out there, they flower, they have these tiny little buds that are just absolutely delicious. They're intense lemon myrtle flavour. You know, the paperbark trees, I sort of love just smoking with that. You know, such a unique flavour, and it tastes so Australian. You know, it's the only way to describe it. You know, so yeah, it's sort of things like that that are really interesting and super fun to incorporate into the menu.
A little earlier, you mentioned that you wanted to sort of bring in flavours of Australia, and your experiences with Paul that you mentioned, and Indigenous communities. Is there some ingredients and some things that you sort of have your eye on, sort of bringing into the restaurant and on the plate?
Yeah, so you know, going down those native lines of sort of, you know, it's a tough one because it is a little bit hard to sort of get a hold of, you know, ingredients. But being here, you know, there is some great little suppliers that we work with, you know, so sort of things like, you know, the Atherton almond, which is, you know, it's in the macadamia nut family. It's a hard, small little nut, delicious flavour, almost has notes of toasted coconut. That'll be on the menu. sort of, all the different citrus I absolutely love. So, there'll be sunrise lime, finger lime, Davidson plum is another great one. It's a real pantry of just flavours that, I'm excited to showcase, and hopefully people, they can come in and they can learn about these things, and, we can tell that story.
I know you haven't been in the position all that long, but is there a dish or two that you have on the menu that you've created that sort of exemplifies where you're at with your approach?
One that really speaks to me would probably be, it's actually one of the desserts, which is quite funny because if you knew me, you knew that it's not something that I really sort of drive into all that much. But sort of, being in the role now, sort of you do have to do things that, maybe you don't feel that comfortable in. But while doing it, it's actually sort of opened my eyes up a little bit to, it's actually a great thing to sort of jump out of the comfort zone and dig your teeth into something you haven't done before. So something we're having a little go at the moment, it's sort of like a warm paperbark mousse, has a little bit of strawberry gum sort of jelly through it, little strawberry gum oil. There's just like a little macadamia cake through it as well, which is, it's sort of, ticks all the boxes for us. It's native, it's fun, it's delicious. So, I mean, those are sort of what we're looking for when we're putting things together.
How much has your cooking changed over the last couple of years that you've been at the restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anything, you adapt to the environment you're in. I was chatting to, a friend of mine about it, and it was a funny thing of, you've got to, once it's your own, you have been there for a long time, but you do need to maybe take a second and then look at, what skill set you have over your whole career, maybe not just sort of, the magnifying glass that's been on it for the last few years. So you could incorporate little bits from sort of here and there, and then, that's sort of your identity is all these little parts that you've taken from everywhere. So, I mean, the last couple of years cooking here has definitely drove it in a great direction. So definitely using little nuances of that, and then obviously things from the past as well.
Many guests at the moment are talking about the challenging times that we're in for hospitality venues. What are things like for you there at the moment, and are these sort of challenging times affecting your approach and what you're doing as well?
I mean, for us, we're pretty lucky. We're always sort of, it's business as usual. I mean, at this sort of caliber for us, I think, it is a small restaurant. For us getting the numbers that we need to make things happen, it's, as long as we're doing what we think is exceptional, and, that sort of attracts, the crowd in. So for us, it's, it is something that you have to keep on the back of your mind, but it's pretty much business as usual.
You've stepped up to a new role at one of Australia's best restaurants. What are you enjoying about your role at the moment?
I've had, a lot of time to let it sink in, and, I really enjoyed just sort of, making, sort of creating your own things and sort of shining your own light. It is a daunting experience knowing that, maybe you don't have someone that you can ask their opinion of, but, it is like a learning experience for you, growing sort of as a chef and as a person that is like, you are the last line of holding it to that level. And, it's been great sort of creating things and doing dishes and, even working with, the suppliers that we have, going out and meeting people, sort of seeing what they have, trying it. That's been such a great thing as well, just going out, the other day, me and sous chef Webster, we were sort of, just looking at a bunch of different crabs. We come back, we cook some, 3 or 4 different types of crabs and tried all that, sort of those little moments are, are great. So I've really enjoyed those sort of things.
You mentioned the team at Vas Felix with Brendan and the environment that set. What about you as a leader now? How are you? What's your approach with the kitchen and the team, and how do you get the best out of them?
Personally, I am openly admit I'm a little soft-spoken. I am a bit of a quieter guy, but I think, I work closely sort of amongst the team. So, they really get a lot of one-on-one time with me, and, we can work on things together. And, I think they get a lot out of that. So, I'm happy to, sort of hear them out and take on board what they have to say. And if there's any, ideas that they want to try or a sauce that they want to make, anything like that, it's an open forum for them, which is something, as a young cook, if, the chef tells you, I'll happily order you in a bunch of ingredients and you can make it and we can try it together. And if it doesn't work, well, then it doesn't matter, at least we learned something and we had a go at it. And, so I want to instill that same sort of, ethos with the guys that, it is somewhere that they really want to come every day and, they enjoy themselves. But it is, still pretty serious place, and, they do work hard, and I think everyone's on the same page with it. They understand, the level that it is, and that's why they do this. So.
Well, Jamie, congratulations on the role. Look forward to seeing where you take the restaurant from here. It's been an honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today. Please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks very much, Anthony. Thanks for having me on.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.